Can you see how the changes you're making now during the pandemic are going to set you up for greater success once this has passed? My name's Zan Thomas. Happy Friday, everybody. Um, I know a lot of times if we're in the middle of a storm, sometimes we get really focused on what we're doing, and the main goal is just to survive. It's absolutely not easy. But sometimes, when we're so focused, it's hard to step back and kind of get a big picture look at things and just see how we are being developed or strengthened for even better success down the road. This past Monday, I believe it was Monday or Tuesday, I had a virtual event with the Raleigh Chamber. It's their business after hours event, and they send us into different breakout sessions, which are just little groups of different folks, and we ask different questions and try to get to know one another. And every group I went into during this session, there was someone with a really encouraging story. Now, I'm not saying things have been easy, and COVID has just been, they've just been coasting through COVID. There's been a lot of hard work and a lot of challenges, but listening to some of the changes these folks have made, I was just really encouraging because what they're implementing is going to help them grow and recover or build and improve so much better than they were before COVID. First session I went to, met one with Angela with Change Agent Connection. It's a PR firm. And it was really cool with her story is when she was saying how when COVID first started, she realized that there were going to be some choppy waters ahead. She said with a PR firm, if businesses are having to cut expenses, those tend to be things that are easier to cut than payroll and other things. But what she also knew is she saw how she could create more value with her business and make it more essential for businesses to keep them on and help them keep them working with her. And this was the really cool thing. What she also realized was that for her to be able to do that and do what she does best, she also needs to delegate responsibilities that she currently has that she doesn't need to be doing. So, while everyone else is, batten down the hatches, Angela actually went out and hired somebody to come in, manage some of the work that she didn't have to do, so then she could strictly focus on what she does best. And I mean, heck, for business owners, hiring and delegating responsibilities is tough enough during good times, let alone during a pandemic, once in 100-year situation. But the really cool thing about that is, and again, I'm not saying it's been easy, and I'm sure she has been working extremely hard to make things work. But what those decisions that she's making now, once this pandemic passes and we get back rolling again, which we will, and everything gets back to normal, her business, the decisions she's made to set her business up is going to allow her to move and grow so much faster than it was ever positioned to do before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, she was managing more stuff. But during the pandemic, it forced her to make some strategic changes that are going to, in the long run, allow her business to function so much better than it was before and be so much stronger. That was my first breakout session. Next breakout session, connected with a woman named Lisa with Creative Visions, and she was in event planning, which of course we know that has been a hard hit sector throughout COVID. And again, I'm not saying there have not been any casualties, but she was talking about some of the things they've shifted. I love to cook, like cooking at home and doing all those types of things. One of the cool things they started doing was with COVID, with everyone being remotely, they found that they could actually bring in chefs who specialize in different parts of the world and come in and do virtual cooking sessions with teams. And in my mind, to me that was cool just because I like it. But it's like, if you weren't forced to think this way, would this idea have ever come around? Everyone's at home. They all have access to their own kitchens. You can, send out information ahead of time to prep them what they need. Everyone's in their own kitchen. And then you can have a chef come on one-on-one with your team and show you how to cook from anywhere in the world. They also have doing virtual wine tastings, doing some business improv, all sorts of cool things where they can bring these specialists who ordinarily, the price would be too high, or they don't have enough time to travel and do everything else, but they have access to all these resources, all these specialists in various fields, and they can create these real cool virtual events for folks, while we're all working remotely. And again, all that's doing is adding more tools to our toolbox. So once COVID's back, once COVID is past, we're back out meeting in person, we're doing virtual events. I mean, there are so many ways that you can par in-person tips and tricks and events and tools that they have already, and par that with things that learn virtually. You could rent out a commercial kitchen for an afternoon, and then you could have some chefs from some other part of the world come put in on a TV screen and do fun cooking cooking sessions there. It's just really cool. So that was my second one. Then what's the next one? So all cool stories. Just I'm going in order of the way I met these individuals. Third one that I went into met a guy named Eric, who is with the North Carolina Opera, and he was sharing with us how they have, which again, live entertainment, another major industry that got hit very hard during this pandemic. But they have their annual gala coming up October 17th. Now, their annual gala is typically, an in-person black tie affair event. But of course, he said they've gone virtual this year. They've had it gone virtual. And again, I'm not saying these changes or these implementations have been easy, and I'm sure there have been casualties in this process. But he said, they've gone virtual, and because of the things they've been setting up virtually, he said we have more people involved in our gala than we ever had in person. You're saying, black tie events is not something for everybody. Some people think it's fun. You dress up, you do the whole 9 yards, and you go and you socialize. But there's another population that might very much well love the opera, love the industry, but for whatever reason, just not into the black tie event. But he said they have more participants now than they ever have had during their in-person gala. And again, it's interesting because now, because they had a traditional way of which they operated and did their gala. Now, because of COVID, they were forced to make some changes to adapt and figure out a way to make it work. But coming out of COVID, they've realized they can tap into a whole new base of fans of the opera and get them involved. And going forward, it'd be great. They'll go back and do the in-person with a black tie, and I'm sure there's lots of people that enjoy that. But what they've learned now, they're going to be able to also apply and figure out ways to get other folks connected into the opera. Get other folks connected from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, make it very inexpensive and convenient, to stay plugged into what we're doing here in North Carolina. So it was just, to me, it was a very inspiring session. You hear a lot of folks unsure of what's going on, trying to figure things out, concerned about what's coming. But it's just, I don't know, it's really cool to hear those stories. And again, I'm sure it's not been easy. I'm sure it's been very difficult. I'm sure there have been some casualties. But how these folks are figuring things out, and, once COVID gets done, these things they're learning now, it's going to set them up for, so much more growth and so much more success than they ever had before COVID. So, I hope this was helpful. If I can be of help to you guys in any way, please reach out. Once again, my name is Zan Thomas, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.